Did you know that only 8% of people achieve their New Year's goals? 8%. That means the odds are stacked firmly against you. For you to have the best chance of having a great 2025 and beyond, you need to do the inner work. Because if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting the same result, right? We know this. So what I wanted to do in this video is to share with you some shadow work practices that are going to help you resolve the internal blocks that you've got, the resistance that's holding you back, so you can go ahead and have the best year of your life. But if you don't do this work, you're just going to end up in the same position. Also, I'm going to share with you a free guide later on in the video. Stick around for that, which combined with this video is going to help you tremendously. So first of all, let's look at how people generally approach their New Year's goals. Most of us have aspirations and things that we want to change or have new experiences. We set a goal and we generally tend to approach the goal through just pure willpower, discipline and brute force. Okay, take the example of somebody who wants to get in good shape. Okay, in the new year, I'm going to get in good shape. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to cut all the bad habits. I'm going to do all of these positive, healthy things. But after a short while, that gets quite tiresome because most people are just relying purely on willpower and discipline and just pushing themselves. And as you probably know, your willpower is limited. And what you are pushing against all the time is unconscious shadow material. It's your shadow programming. And unless you can resolve that, you're always going to feel like you are pushing and grinding and hustling. So the importance of doing this shadow work is so you get out of your own way. Your New Year's goals, or any goal for that matter, shouldn't always have to feel like a grind and a push all the time. Yes, sometimes it might, but not all of the time. And when you get out of your own way, when you do the shadow work, things are going to be much more easier for you to get to where you want to get to. So it's like the iceberg analogy, which you've probably all seen. And that is where the unconscious mind is submerged under the water, like 95% of your programming. And that 5% of your programming, the top of the iceberg, is your conscious mind, that 5%. And most people are trying to will themselves to do something with that 5% when that 95% submerged in the water, the unconscious, has all the control. So you can see there the odds are firmly stacked against you. It's very, very difficult. Hence the reason only about 8% of people achieve their New Year's goals. What you need to do, which is what we do in shadow work, is we start to make this submerged part more conscious. We're making the unconscious conscious. And what that does is that increases your conscious part. Okay, so at the beginning, you might only have 5% conscious part. But as you begin to do shadow work, that conscious part begins to grow. So you might only get to 7 or 8% conscious awareness, but every single percent of extra conscious awareness you gain is life-changing. Don't think you need to become fully conscious of everything. An extra percent of consciousness and 1% less of unconsciousness, if that makes sense, will change your life. So that's the point of shadow work. We want to make the unconscious conscious so you get out of your own way. So I just want to show you on this board what we are dealing with. As you can see, we've got these two illustrations. I know it looks a bit spooky. This is your shadow aspect and this is you. So your shadow aspect, the unconscious part of you, this part that's submerged under the water in this iceberg analogy, is all of the experiences that you've had throughout your whole life, okay? And they have programmed you unconsciously. Now, when it comes to pursuing your goals, you have picked up a lot of negative beliefs, a lot of negative programming and conditioning based upon your life experiences, your upbringing, society, culture, your friends. All of these things have influenced you. And now the programming that you picked up is controlling you. You've developed a lot of resistance to certain things. Usually the things that we build up resistance to is the things that we haven't experienced before. So if you've always been someone who's pretty unhealthy and you've never been healthy, you will have resistance to that. If you're someone who's never really had much money, you will probably have resistance to having more money, because if the resistance wasn't there, you would have them things if you wanted them, okay? Because the only thing that's in the way is you. The only thing that is in the way is your unconscious programming. Life is unlimited. Life is infinite. If you were fully whole and complete, you could experience whatever you wanted. I know that sounds crazy, but it's literally the truth. So what we need to do, so you have the best possible 2025, is begin to change some of this stuff. Find out what the resistance is. Find out what's holding you back. Because when you get the resistance out of the way, you feel like you've got more motivation. You feel like you can do more. You feel like you can actually do what you want to do. But while the resistance is there, like it is for most people, it's always this uphill push. And because it's so hard, most people quit. You remove the resistance, it feels like you're more motivated. It's not that you are more motivated, there's just less interference. You've just removed resistance. So I want to take you through a 6-step process for this shadow work practice that you can do. Check out the free gift as well, which I'll put a link down below. And when you combine these two things, it's going to put you in the best possible position to have the best new year that you've ever had. So step 1 is center yourself. So I'm just going to draw a red line to illustrate what I mean by center yourself. So this is the most important part, if you ask me. To center yourself means you are grounded and you are present. If you are not grounded and present, then it's going to be very difficult to do the next steps. If you take any one thing from this video, work on being centered, grounded and present. When you are centered, grounded and present, you are less distracted. You don't get caught up in negative emotions and negative thinking. You take on that witness consciousness you might have heard about. You just become that witness. It doesn't mean you don't feel, you don't experience anything, but you're able to feel and think thought without getting dragged away by them. So this is the level that you need to work at first. Develop that centeredness. This is what meditation is for. The more that you meditate, the better you get at it, the easier it is for you to stay centered and calm and present in your body. So second step is to identify triggers and resistance. So first of all, let's talk about resistance. A lot of resistance people have when it comes to pursuing their New Year's goals is probably laziness, procrastination, that feeling like I can't be bothered. That is resistance, and most people never stop to question that resistance. You see, that resistance is coming from your shadow. You're not lazy because you're just a worthless piece of shit. There's something in your shadow that is making you lazy. So the next time you're feeling lazy, unmotivated, you're procrastinating, start to get interested in that laziness. Start to get interested in that procrastination, right? There's a message there for you. This is how we communicate with our unconscious, through these things that we don't necessarily like, okay? These blocks. So pay attention. Next time you're feeling lazy, you're procrastinating, that resistance, pay attention to it, label it, give it a name, so every time it comes up, you recognize it. This is how we bring more awareness into our shadow, because when these things emerge, usually we would ignore them, but now we're recognizing them, okay? We're making the unconscious conscious. Alongside with recognizing resistance, you need to start recognizing emotional triggers. So you might experience emotional triggers like negative emotions, resentment, anger, frustration. Take, for example, you wanted to go to the gym and get in good health. You want to get in great shape, right? But you've always failed. You've tried numerous times, you keep failing. But one of your friends has managed to develop this habit, and he now goes to the gym all the time. He's looking well, he's looking healthy, and you're feeling a little bit angry or a little bit pissed off about it. Maybe a bit jealous even. So instead of you projecting that jealousy onto him, actually get interested in the jealousy, because again, the jealousy is your shadow talking to you. It's letting you know that's what's blocking you. Them uncomfortable feelings are blocking you from getting what you want. Do you see? So do not ignore what the shadow is trying to tell you. So pay attention to resistance, pay attention to emotional triggers, and label them. So every time that resistance comes up, every time that resentment comes up, you recognize it. And again, I want to say it again, the more you start to make the unconscious conscious, the more this power you are taking back. The third part of this process is to identify your fears. Now, we all have unconscious fears in our shadow. Unless you become aware of your unconscious fears, they are going to sabotage you. They are going to hold you back. So one of the best ways you can start to become aware of your unconscious fears, what I like to do is to imagine in your mind if you are actually doing the thing that you want, all of it. What we tend to do is we live through rose-tinted spectacles. So let's say, again, using the gym example, you want to get in great shape. You might only see the positives. Go, if I was in great shape, I'd be so ripped, I'd be buff, people would look at me in a different way, I'd get more respect from people. You think about all the good qualities, you might not necessarily think about all the hard things you have to do. You might have to get up earlier, you might have to spend less time with people that you really love and care about. You might have to spend less time doing another hobby that you have, maybe like reading or playing video games, whatever. You might have to start sacrificing other things. And unless you can make them sacrifices conscious, you're probably going to sabotage yourself. Using another example is if you were to start a new business, maybe you want to start your own business. And unless you think through the whole thing, what you're going to have to go through in as clear imagination as possible, you're not going to identify the fears. So the business example, you might have fears of rejection, okay? And unless you identify them, bring them up and start to see them and see how they're playing out in every area of your life, when it comes to starting that business, anytime there's a possibility of rejection, you'll probably just sabotage or quit and feel like you can't be bothered. You won't know why you quit in any of your goals. You'll just be like, I can't be bothered. Because underneath your laziness is these kind of beliefs. The fourth step of this process is going to sound a little bit weird, but I want you to start to dialogue with these parts of yourself that you've identified, right? So maybe you've identified a resentful part or a fearful part or a lazy part. I literally want you to imagine that lazy part was a person. I know this sounds crazy, but this is a technique that's very, very powerful. Imagine that lazy part was a person, and now you are having a dialogue with that person. So you could ask it questions like, why do you make me lazy? What are you getting out of it? How are you trying to help me? Because all these parts of your shadow, in some way, they think they are helping you, believe it or not. Otherwise, you wouldn't have took them on. But when we begin to create this dialogue, you start to get answers. And as you get answers, you begin to understand your unconscious better. And again, the more you understand your unconscious, the more you are making the unconscious conscious, right? The more light you are shining into the darkness. So ask questions. In this free gift I've got for you down below, I've got a list of about 10 questions in there. So you can ask it anything, right? And it'll give you the answers that you want. So that takes me on to step 5. Step 5 is to feel the emotions. So when you are feeling lazy, you are feeling triggered, resentful, angry, frustrated, whatever it might be, I want you to feel them, okay? This is just a basic spiritual practice. Feel your emotions. It can be very difficult to do, but for you to resolve the stuff in your shadow, you need to begin to step into it. And a lot of your negative emotions are unconscious and they're controlling you. They're actually showing you where you need to look. So when you start to meditate with them, on them, you are taking yourself to the source of your problem where you can resolve it. Imagine the negative emotion or the trigger or the resistance is actually telling you where to look. What most of us try to do is we try to suppress it, we try to ignore it, we try to go somewhere else. But to turn around and actually face the darkness and stop fighting it is where you will find peace, okay? These emotions need to be felt, released and processed. But if you keep avoiding them, they're going to keep holding you back, because the biggest blocks in your unconscious shadow, it's emotional blocks. So the practice of feeling through your emotions, okay? And the sixth and final step is when you've felt through the emotions, when you've done this dialogue work with these different aspects of yourself, underneath all of that stuff, you're going to find some sort of belief. Probably a very negative belief. Some common beliefs you might have is, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or other people are better than me, or the world is scary, or I don't deserve more money, or I don't deserve to be a better person. There's all these kind of dysfunctional beliefs that we've taken on. I cannot tell you what your own dysfunctional beliefs are, but if you do this process correctly, you keep looking into the shadow, feeling the emotions, dialoguing with these aspects of yourself, eventually they will tell you what they are hiding. And when you see, oh, right, for some reason I don't feel like I'm good enough, then you can actually make peace with that. You can feel through it and you can change it. Because when you realize and see it, by that point you will understand that you are good enough. And that was just a false belief. The belief just needs you to see it, right? As crazy as it sounds. Because your consciousness is so powerful. When it puts that energy, let's say, on any of these darker parts of you, the darkness just vanishes like it does in real life, okay? Not that your inner world isn't real, but if you walk in a dark room and you put the light on, the darkness is gone. It's like that. When you actually see the things that you have been hiding deep within, they just vanish. Literally, someone put the lights on and your shadow just lessens. You then feel like you've got more freedom. It literally feels like there's less resistance holding you back. And because of that, it feels like you're more motivated. You're not any more motivated, you just remove the resistance. Okay, this is a very powerful practice. I just want to say again, please go ahead, download the gift down below, the free guide. That's going to help you tremendously on this process, and just give yourself the best possible chance for the new year. We're about a month away now if you're watching this video when I released it, and you've got time, you've still got time to do some good inner work to set yourself up. But if you don't do it and you're just going to rely on willpower again, forcing yourself, then I wish you the best of luck, but I don't think the odds are in your favor, okay? Stack the odds in your favor by fixing the things that are holding you back, okay? So if you enjoyed the video and you want to watch more things like this, go ahead, check these videos out right here. But until next time, God bless.